Mariah Carey wants Nick Cannon to carve out more time to spend with their twins. So I am so tired of this narrative that people keep spreading, that as long as he has enough money, well, he can have as many kids as he wants. That is a narrative that contributes to the high single mother rates in America. Now, a lot of channels in the manosphere will blame the women for chasing these men that they know have multiple kids. But let's remember, it takes two to tango. Yes, these women are just ridiculous, but so is this man that's having all of these kids. And at the end of the day, it is the man that is not being a good father, not these women. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Terrible parenting. If you ask me, if you're a man and you have more than 4 kids, you're probably not a good father. Now, I'll say if you're a woman and you have more than 5 kids, you're probably not a good mother either. And that's such a general statement. That's why I said probably. I think that, I guess, like, hey, this is just from what I've seen. Obviously, this is not based on any studies, so someone's going to have to do some studies. But it takes more than providing finances for somebody to be a good father or to be a good mother. You have to be there for your kids emotionally, physically, be present for them. So I've seen some videos, I think, like, people think that a father doesn't need to be there for their child, especially not in the first 10 years. I saw Sneeko saying that on Valuetainment. I thought that was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. A father has to be present for their kids. And it's just so unfortunate to see this, because Nick Cannon is going around making light of this, and people are celebrating him for this. I'm going to play this video that I saw that I found I found this offensive.
Time to do some online Christmas shopping.
Wait, hold on.
And based off the baby mama to kid ratio, we got a whole hell of a lot of gifts to buy.
Let's start again.
Be honest, what do you do on Friday nights?
Oh gosh, let me start again. It's one of these threads.
And thanks to me, the world now has 8 billion people. But my job's not done. It's time to do some online Christmas shopping. And based off the baby mama to kid ratio, we got a whole hell of a lot of gifts to buy. Let's go. And to start it off, my adorable and jovial offspring gave me a list. Daddy's got this. It's gonna be a merry Christmas. I didn't get none of this stuff when I was a kid. You know what my daddy got me? A stick. He used to call me Stick Cannon. No, I can't afford the whole Lakers. Maybe one of them.
So even in this video, he's kind of just like making light of the fact that he has so many kids, like 8 billion people on the planet just because of him or whatever he said. But if you understood like something that was on the, like, not on the surface, but like layered in there, he's kind of like insinuating that because he's rich, he can provide for all his kids. And people confuse wealth and being able to provide for children with being a good father. Yes, that's a component to being a good father, but it takes more than that to be a good father. And in fact, some fathers are not financially there for their kids, or do their best financially but just don't cut it, can actually end up being better fathers than those that are not physically present with their kids. And so this is a problem that you see with, these men that have these multiple baby mamas. Then you're not there physically. You can't carve out more time for your kids, because especially in these cases with the people like Nick Cannon, ultimately when it comes down to it, he's a busy man. He's a CEO. He has businesses, so it's hard enough for like, a regular man with like 3 kids to see their kids when they're running all these businesses and they're doing all this stuff. But someone that has 11 children, How are you going to be there for all your kids? And it's his business. He can do whatever he wants with his life. It's nobody's business. But my thing, what I'm here to talk about here, is how this influences the people that are watching, or that are watching Nick Cannon and saying, oh, this is an example to live by. That is what I find problematic, and that's what I aim to dispel in this video. This is not okay. Now, Nick Cannon claims that he spends a lot more than $3 million a year on child support. Well, apparently it's not child support by the state, but this is just what he spends, and his baby mamas would never put him on child support. This is what he claims, and this does not mean that this is true. It might be true. That's a lot of money to spend on children. It might just be true, right? But at the end of the day, that's a lot of money to spend on children. If you go watch a previous video that I made, I talk about how these men that have multiple children, they create middle-class kids. Most of the time, they create middle-class children. And that's how you prevent wealth from being generational. Now, most people that have money, it's generational. The reason why white society was able to build is because, they got the home loans and they passed those houses to their children. Wealth is generational, and those children had something to use, to leverage, to build their wealth or build their middle classness, right? But when you see Black America and you see why Black people are not as wealthy as in white America, yes, of course, we know all the racism and all that stuff. Go watch the video. I broke it down. But a big component is the lack of generational wealth. And so why this is extremely disappointing to me is that when you have a Black man who has come into money, which is rare, it's rare for any human to come into this amount of money, let alone a Black man in America. So the difficulties, the challenges that you faced getting here, it's almost like it is your duty to create generational wealth. But unfortunately, this is the biggest challenge that these men face: over procreation. And then they end up, not creating generational wealth in that way. So he's going to build up middle class, maybe at best upper middle class kids. But unfortunately, so he's claiming that, look, he spends, another problem with a lot of these men like this, there's this trope, and they try to act as though they have this big happy family. They'll take pictures with all their kids like this, act as though they're present and they're there with all these kids. But in reality, Mariah Carey, this is like his most famous mother of his child, because I'm not going to call her baby mama because she was actually married to him, his ex-wife, superstar Mariah Carey. She is saying that he's not there for her kid. And these are the kids that are going to be treated the best. Let's be real. These are Mariah Carey's kids. He loved her, and he said that he wants her back at one point. These are the kids he's going to be treating the best, and he's not spending enough time with them. What about the rest of the kids? So this is just what I mean. It's poor family planning. It's irresponsible over procreation. And let's just not buy into this lie that they try to pass on to the world, as though like, oh, we're this big happy family. I have enough money so I can take care of all of them. And all of these lies that they try to spew, and people believe it. My problem is it's dangerous because people believe in these lies, and they go off if they come into money and they think they can do this too. And that's problematic. This is not something to look to as inspiration. This is problematic. Can I add to the fact that not only does he have all this work that he has to do, not only does he have to be there for all his kids, he's also battling lupus. So his health is not in the best, isn't in the best form. And so I can only imagine, like, if your health is deteriorating, you can't even give yourself to anyone, let alone your kids. It's hard enough for you to just like exist, right? So these are the components that are at play. And he believed because he had lupus, that's what inspired him to have so many kids. But I feel as though that was probably that was the worst thing he could have done, because now he's bringing up all of these fatherless kids. And especially if he dies, unfortunately, I mean, I hope he lives as long as possible, but if he does die, unfortunately, all these kids are going to be fatherless. And then you ask yourself, this is a question of vanity. Yes, I understand. He wanted to have this legacy of having all of these kids and all of these offspring, but where does vanity and irresponsibility cross? Like, where does the line blur? Where does this sort of just make you think this is just not responsible? This is terrible family planning. And I haven't even talked about all the other components of just like having multiple baby mamas, like how the kids are just not going to be like similar in their culture and their values. I was just watching the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. Sorry, not documentary, the Netflix show. Not that this will happen to any of his kids, but he's having all these kids with different cultures, because they come from different households, and their mothers have their own lifestyle and their own culture that they're teaching them. And now all these kids have the same last name. Now imagine if one of them turns out to be the next Jeffrey Dahmer or like the next suicide bomber in some plane, and then you all give them all the same last name, Kenim, and now automatically, just because he had a kid with some other random woman that Mariah has no idea who she is, her kids have to share a last name and siblinghood with a future serial killer or something. Not saying that this happens, but this is a problem with a lack of family planning and spreading your seed so much. You can't really truly unify this family, because ultimately, culturally, these kids are going to have different values, different beliefs, different household dynamics, different morals, so on and so forth. Those are my thoughts anyway. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with this? Do you think that Mariah Carey is just complaining for no reason, and she's giving her as much time as he possibly can? Do you disagree? Leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and then do you agree with me when I say if you're a woman and you have more than 5 kids, you can't possibly be a good mother? Or if you're a father and you have more than 4, why did I choose more kids for a woman? I think that because a woman gives birth to her kids, there's a little bit extra bit of more attachment. So she's able to have one more extra than a father. I don't know. Who knows? This is just my theory. Let me know if you agree, disagree, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. You're watching the Kenim O Show, and I'm your host, Kenim O. Peace.